everybody, it's Philippa from Chris and Philly Functional Medicine here, and I love helping moms and parents and also just high achieving busy women end their burnout for good. And today I wanted to talk about postnatal anxiety and depression. And before I jump into this, I just want to say that postnatal anxiety and depression, a lot of people think that this is, just relevant for a woman who's had a baby, in their first few months after the baby has arrived, or maybe, the first year. I want to say that is not true at all, that postnatal issues, let's call it postnatal depletion, can occur for many, many, many years after you have children, because your body might not actually bounce back on its own. And we've seen this time and time again in our practice where we have mums who have had their kids and they've never felt the same since. And their kids are now in primary school, even high school, and they've been living their life for years half human. And I want you to know that this can be fixed really. I probably shouldn't say a quick fix, because nothing's ever a quick fix, but you don't have to live your life for another 10, 20 years feeling depleted because of the babies that you had in the past. If you're feeling burnt out and you feel like it's occurred since having babies, then I highly recommend you listen to this. And if it resonates with you, then please feel free to reach out. So I'm going to start talking about baby blues. And again, I'm going to mention new mums and new bubbas, but really these baby blues that it can occur for many, many years. So baby blues and feeling like an emotional mess, which is what a lot of mums feel like after having babies, are really common feelings. But what is not so common, or when it becomes a dysfunction, is when you're constantly feeling snappy and irritable and down and worrying all the time. Like you can't help wonder, what's wrong with me? And when your mental health issues continue lingering well after the baby is born, so this is like even years after, this is definitely a cause for concern. So data shows that 1 in 5 mothers of children aged 24 months or less have been diagnosed with depression and or anxiety. So what's that, like 1/5 or 1/4 of women have some sort of mental ill health after having a baby. And these issues can linger far longer than just the toddler years. So there's research that actually shows that mums with kids up to the age of 8, so that's in primary school, especially if those mums are also juggling home and a work or a business, are linked with mental ill health issues. So I came into this work of helping mothers restore from postnatal depletion after my own experiences of anxiety after having my 2 babies. For me, anxiety showed up as heart palpitations, chest tightness, inability to believe in myself, and also quite literally I felt like I was losing control, especially with my kids. Every little thing that they did ticked me off, and I was often ashamed. I was lashing out at our daughters for the smallest things. It deeply scared me because this was not who I was, nor the type of mother that I envisioned myself to be. And deep down, I wanted to be the loving and nurturing mother that my daughters deserved. But some days it was like I was overshadowed with a dragon-like anger from a place that really was unknown. So there are some body imbalances that are linked to depression and anxiety. Often mothers continue living in quiet shame with their erratic behaviors and their harmful thoughts, or maybe you or some mums who have gone to seek help from their GP. And while this is a really good first step, often GPs will only be able to spend 15 minutes with you, which ends with a script often for an antidepressant or maybe a referral to a psychologist. So now working with a psychologist, excellent. I'm not disregarding that, but there's often body imbalances going on as well because of the depletion that occurs when a mother is pregnant and then breastfeeding and then all the sleepless nights that occur. So taking a holistic approach to look at the root cause of postnatal depression and anxiety is so important. Working with a psychologist can also be very beneficial, of course, or a mindset coach. So pregnancy, breastfeeding, sleepless nights, convenient foods, and the emotional stress of trying to work out how to heck to be a mother and juggling baby and other life duties are extremely demanding. I know. So all these stresses add up and can lead to some pretty nasty functional imbalances in the body, which can flare up mental health issues. So for example, you could have an infection in the gut, and this could literally cause depression or anxiety. So think of things like Helicobacter pylori, Giardia, which is a parasite, Candida, which is a fungal overgrowth. Many of these can actually damage your gut-brain connection due to the inflammation that occurs. There's actually several studies that have observed gut inflammation affecting mental health conditions like mood imbalances, anxiety, and depression. And these infections often occur when the immune system is suppressed during times of stress, like when you have a baby. And it's not necessarily emotional stress, although a lot of new mums and ongoing mums have that, but it's also, again, just that physical stressor of carrying a child, birthing a child, and then looking after children can drain your immune system. Another cause of postnatal anxiety and depression could be a depletion of your neurotransmitters. So these relate to an imbalance in your brain chemicals like dopamine or serotonin. They're really important for like having a strong or healthy mental health. So if these brain chemicals are depleted, it could trigger things like mood and anxiousness. Even irrational anger has been seen in studies, kind of like what I experienced after I had my second baby. So having babies can also cause these neurotransmitters to deplete, because again of the stresses that occur when you're pregnant, breastfeeding, looking after children. So when I tested my own neurotransmitters post babies, I wasn't at all surprised to see how low my dopamine was, and it made a really big difference when I restored that. One other thing, your postnatal anxiety or depression could also arise because of toxin overload. So when your body struggles to detox and cleanse from like toxic crap, it affects your brain's healthy functions, and this can actually trigger anxiety and depression. So again, there are studies to show that there are real effects that can occur when you have heavy metal toxicity. These can really affect your brain and kill off neurotransmitters, which is pretty crazy. So there are some things that you can do to overcome postnatal anxiety and depression. So thankfully, you can heal from mental health conditions with a holistic approach. You don't only have to rely on antidepressants, there are other ways. So first of all, I would encourage you to get tested for any potential imbalances in your body system. So again, think your brain, your gut, your hormones, your detox pathways. Testing, what I do is I use specialized functional medicine lab tests using specimens such as saliva and urine and stool and sometimes blood. And these tests go far beyond what your GP would test for, and often find issues even after all your GP tests have come back normal, and the GP might just say, is it all in your head? So also something to be mindful of is your nutrition. So while it can be a real struggle for time-poor mums to prioritize a balanced diet, having a balanced, healthy diet will help you avoid blood sugar imbalances. So if you're eating too much sugar, your blood sugar levels are going to rise high. If you're not eating enough food because you're skipping your meals, your blood sugar levels are going to drop down. And all of these can affect mood swings. They can cause energy crashes. They can cause gut inflammation, especially if you're more on the side of eating really inflammatory, sugary, carby type foods. Another tip is to make sure you rest. Your body and your mind repair themselves while you are asleep. So a lack of sleep can lead you to feeling really lethargic, demotivated, emotional, and burnt out. So definitely don't overlook your sleep. Put that as your highest priority. I know I did. It made the world of difference when I really nailed down on my sleep patterns. Also, another thing that you can try and do is break your anxious cycle. So when you're snapping at the kids all the time or the partner, you can, or it's often you are overcome with a sense of shame and guilt, which snowballs into comfort habits often, such as emotional eating, or maybe you're escaping on Netflix or something like that, trying to get away from your guilt and your anger and just your life and the grind that your life has become. And the more you engage with these habits, the further you drive yourself from imbalance. So to reprogram this behavioral cycle, start with awareness. Notice the emotions and the environments and the patterns that are attached to your habits. I know that's kind of like putting that into simple terms, and we work with our clients to really untangle all of this because your emotions and your thoughts and feelings really affect the way that you feel and think, obviously, and also the way that you behave. And it also affects you physically as well. So I know it's not easy to tackle all of the above on your own, and having support to calm your body down and to do the inner work needed can make a huge difference. So I would encourage you, if you are struggling, stop struggling. Like, there are things that you can do. Seek out a coach or a functional medicine practitioner. I happen to know a great coach and practitioner. Seek out someone who will help you become the mom that you want to be. So someone who is present and calm and loving and connected with their children. I've got my little girl here, right here. Do you want to poke your head up? My little queen. You're going to have to come closer to me. Hi. This is Elsie. She's been quietly sitting next to me while I've been doing this video. Beautiful girl. So yeah, if you would love to have your children think about you now, also in the future, and think back and think, Mum was just so cool. She loved me. She gave me cuddles all the time. If you would prefer that your children thought that about you, as opposed to, my mum was a dragon mum and she screamed all the time and she was hitting me all the time, then I would, Elsie's here going, no, you don't want your mummy to be like that, do you? No. I'd really love to invite you to book in for a 90-minute, I call it connect the dots session. So this is an initial consult where together we will dive deep into why you feel the way that you do, physically, emotionally, mentally, and we'll get you started with lab testing so we can really identify if there are any kind of hidden physical imbalances that are affecting your mental health, and potentially, and most probably, those imbalances just haven't bounced back since you've had children. So feel free to reach out. I'll put a link for that consult, or feel free to send me a message. I would love to answer any questions.